I do quite a bit of work with people from outside this country who want to do business in this country. And starting last March, April or so, as people realized the impact that Washington was having on the financial affairs of the U.S. and the world because of the bailout and because of other things, suddenly we had a lot of interest in coming here, moving an office here, perhaps spending less time in New York and more time in what has become the new financial capital of the United States, Washington. And I have watched the struggle that some of these folks have as they try to adapt. Washington is not an easy place in which to find your footing. This is one of the tougher capitals to work in. Oh, every capital has its own mix of practices and does things its own way, but Washington seems to be peculiar and difficult, especially for outsiders. So I came up with a list, and then we've added to it since, on suggestions for those coming from another country, from another part of the United States, moving here to make it easier to fit in. The confusion is hard to get through for people. They don't quite know where to put their office, who to hire. They worry about things such as, what are the trendy restaurants? Where should I go to be seen? And let me suggest that there are some things you not do if you plan to be successful in Washington. I'm going to do this in two segments so we don't have any one segment too long. And I want to give credit to International Investor and its publisher, Robert Sharetta, because he asked me to do this and I did it, and he put it on his television program. We did a half-hour segment on it about a month or so ago. Since then, as I've worked with people and seen some of the struggles, I've updated my list. But let's go through. We'll do the first few and then we'll break and do the rest in another segment. Number one, do not stick together with other newcomers who are also from your country, your state, your city. They really can't help you. They're new to this as well. If they're brand new in town, what do they know that you don't know? Try to befriend a few Americans. It's very easy, as a matter of fact, to befriend Americans. And if you can't stomach Americans, and I had a man from Indonesia say, I don't like Americans, at least try to make friends with some foreigners who know Americans. That's what we did with this fellow. He's very happy now. He knows a lot of people, and he keeps enlarging his circle. Meet a few from one country that has some things that are similar to yours in the way of issues, perhaps just geography. Meet others from other countries, and then try to reach out to some Americans. When you do that, rule number two, don't live ostentatiously. Americans who can help you avoid ostentation about almost everything except where they send their children to school. Remember when President-elect Nixon said that he reviewed dozens and dozens of resumes for presidential appointments. He said, this one went to Harvard, this one went to Yale. Harvard, Yale, Harvard, Yale. Didn't anybody go to Oklahoma State? Yes, a lot of people went to Oklahoma State and similar universities throughout the United States and elsewhere. Some of them got elected to Congress, or the Senate, perhaps. Some of them are in high appointed positions, or are longtime bureaucrats, and they have a lot of power. They sent their children to the right schools, and they went to very good schools, whether it was Oklahoma State or some other school. So don't live ostentatiously. Americans in Washington are not like Americans at a similar responsibility level. They don't have the wealth, but they do have a better than average income. Rule number 3. Don't waste time going to inn clubs and restaurants. They're filled with pretty people who really belong in Hollywood or New York. They're here, they're being seen, people gravitate toward them, but if you want to have a career in the entertainment industry, you could go to Hollywood or New York and perhaps have a better chance of meeting them. You're here to meet the people who can help you, who make the wheels of government grind. So, what do? Go to the places that those people go. And they will not be the fancy places. They will not be places where money gets you in. They will be neighborhood places, places near the Capitol building, near the White House. They will often be places that are family favorites. Along that same line, as you pick a restaurant, Washington is very fortunate. It is filled with unpretentious but excellent restaurants. As people of different ethnic groups have moved in, they have established their restaurants, and we have some of the best restaurants in the United States. No doubt about it. Get to know people who know these restaurants, because then you will become known as a person who knows the good restaurants, neighborhood by neighborhood, rather than a person who goes and looks at the expense account restaurants and says, I've got to go there. I remember a congressman some years ago, many years ago, each time we would go out to dinner, he would want to go to the same place. It was the trendy hot spot in Georgetown at that time. The food was very good. And I asked him after a while, why do we always come here? And he said to me, you know, I'm from a small town in the Midwest. We didn't have anything like these restaurants, and I don't know for sure what's good and what isn't. But I do know that this restaurant has a reputation, and this is where I want to be seen. Well, don't do that. That congressman was very effective in his work, much more effective when he went home, because he did fit in with his district quite well. Your job is to fit in here. Your job is to make it here. Find those neighborhood restaurants so you can call someone and say, hey, I have found a good XYZ restaurant. Would you and your wife like to go Friday? Say, I found a wonderful new place for seafood. Would you and your husband like to go Saturday evening? And there you go. You're making it because you now know something and can introduce them to something that they will then share with their friends.